Hello everyone, I am the Synodic Scribe, and today I am not alone. It took some forbidden incantations and a bit of aetheric bending, but I am joined by a variety of talented individuals today. Two of whom you're likely already familiar, but we have two special guests from completely different spheres. So before we begin, let's go around the table and tell everyone a bit about yourselves if they're not already familiar.
Hey, I'm Adan. I do Final Fantasy 14 animations on YouTube, and I tweet about Final Fantasy 14 too much, maybe. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. Yeah.
I am Croton. I run the Essalim Collate. I do lore stuff and narrative stuff for a bunch of different games. Final Fantasy 14 mainly, but definitely different storylines from different games at the moment.
All right. Hi, I'm Final Fantasy 14 Fun Facts. I run the Twitter account, but now it's extended into Instagram and Threads and all the other stuff. I basically just sort of talk about lore and take big pieces and digest it down into things that people can see and digest pretty easily. So yeah, I'll always be talking about lore. I retweet art. I like all that.
Hi, I'm Sly. I play Final Fantasy 14, and I also do a podcast called State of the Realm with Mr. Happy 1227. Yeah, I've just been playing this game since 2013, and here I am.
For any of our listeners that don't know, this roundtable discussion is all about where Final Fantasy 14 is right now and what we hope to see from the Final Fantasy 14 FanFestivals, because this is an interesting point in the game's history where we've kind of reached the end of an age. The story that has been told ever since 1.0 has now ended, and we're kind of in untested waters. This is a perfect opportunity for the upcoming FanFest to really kind of wow people with what they may be able to see or look forward to in the future, because I feel you only get a moment like this every so often, and it would be a shame for them not to take advantage of it. So starting with Crow, you said you went to the previous
So
yeah?
Go ahead.
And so this is the first actual physical one we've had since COVID started, yeah?
Yeah, it's intense to really think about it, because it's been 5 years since we've had a physical fan fest. And I will say, I mean, starting from the very beginning, they do an intense amount of work when it comes to planning fan fests and things like that. And they have a full staff, and they have all these checks. The keynote's going to be amazing, right? And I imagine I guess I could, starting off with some of my hopes for FanFest, I'm imagining that since it's the 10th anniversary, and we haven't had a FanFest physical in 5 years, they're going to do something really special. It'll probably define it as one of the better FanFests out there, because now that they have 3 FanFests to kind of base an experience off of, they have that time with it. It's not a new thing to them, right? They're going to be able to present both the anniversary and a return to physical meetings for the first time in 5 years. Yeah, I'm expecting something pretty crazy. Not too crazy, I wouldn't imagine, but I do know, remembering 2018 when they dropped the teaser trailer for Shadowbringers, and that was one of the coolest moments, because the moment that guitar riff started playing and everyone was like, oh, they were so excited because we were used to the orchestral style of music, right? Stormblood had an orchestral theme, so did Heaven's Ward, right? That was just the way things had gone for this entire time. We were expecting that style of music. So when the guitar drops, we're literally within the first hour of the event, everybody lost it. It was just combustion of minds everywhere. Everyone was super hyper it. And
man, Soken doesn't have to go that hard all the time.
He doesn't.
He can't avoid it.
Yes, exactly. It is just that
he's just that good. He's just going easy on us. That's how it is.
And everyone knows the Shadowbringers theme. At this point, I would venture to say a large portion of the community could sing it by heart. At this point, it's such an endearing song because but that was the first time we heard it was at FanFest. So I know for a fact, if anything, 2023 FanFest is going to open up with some new tunes, and we're going to be like, that's good stuff. That's the good soaking we all love, And it's just, and I don't know. I don't know if it'll hit with the same potency, but it'll definitely be awesome to hear. Whatever song he's cooked up, he's definitely got something new that's going to play. I just don't know what it would be. But yeah, I mean, there's the keynote's always a big burst of it's always going to drop a teaser trailer of some sort. At least that's the way they've done it. It's always been a teaser trailer of some sort. We don't know exactly what it'll cover, but it will give us hints leading to what to expect in 7.0. And then from there, they do their presentation. They introduce it, themselves as direct producer, and they start talking about what we saw in the teaser trailer. Mm-hmm. We also need to pay attention to, of course, Yoshi's shirt. While we're there, we need to be like, okay, what is he wearing? What does it mean?
So for those in the audience that may not be aware, during the fan festivals, there's correct me if I'm wrong, there's always 3.
Mm-hmm. Right.
One
traditionally there's been 3.
Yeah, one in America, one in Europe, and the last one in Japan itself. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And in all 3 of those, it's not like the same thing every time. Like they'll do the grand reveal at like the first one, and then the second one will maybe kind of like piece together what they might not have talked about yet, and then the last one will kind of like wrap up like the things that they've been wanting to talk about but haven't just yet. And in the first one with the shirt, it starts with Yoshi P's shirt teasing what the next job may or may not be. And then like the second FanFest reveals what the job is. He'll be wearing another shirt. And then the third FanFest reveals what the last job is. Mm. So, that being said, though, with our current roster of jobs, what we've currently got on our hands so far, do we still expect to be seeing 2 more jobs added to the roster next expansion?
I don't know about that.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
My first assumption is... that 7.0, I feel like they're going to do a hallmark job situation for probably striking or maybe casting for once, right? Everything's always been melee between paladin, samurai, all that sort of stuff. But I'm thinking maybe we could do either something related to Dragoon Reaper type of gear or something casting, which I would love. But, at the same time, we have 19 jobs now? We have a lot of jobs, so I think that they're going to obviously try to scale back things and try to maybe do 1 job. I don't know if 7.0 is going to be that, or if 8.0 would be that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we only get 1 new job. That's what I'm...
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just a casting job, because there's like 3 casters right now, right? Without counting, of course, the amazing Blue Mage.
I kind of want to lean on history and say that it'll be 2.
Right.
But that could go a couple of ways. Yeah, I'm expecting 1 to be a caster. Since we've gotten healers as of recent. We got a melee. We recently got a tank. So yeah, casters pretty much due, I feel. Now, as far as a second job, it could be a Final Fantasy Hallmark, or it could be a Final Fantasy Hallmark and be a limited job.
Right.
I know a lot of people have said they wouldn't mind if something like Beastmaster was a limited job, and it becomes a sort of like Pokemon battle kind of job. Yeah, exactly.
That would be, well, it would make sense for it to be Beastmaster just because of a few things. They've been adding a lot of... they've been teasing a lot in Basta and Satnor with Beastmasters and then having their beast that they fight with. Also, with the changes they did to Summoner, they obviously figured out how to make it work for the engine to have a player summon a render of like a detailed render of a boss. So it wouldn't be surprised if they can do with like smaller mobs, right? That would make sense to me for a limited job.
Right.
I remember.
Yeah, Beastmaster is in the game already. So
No, I mean, from a lore standpoint, there are plenty of jobs in the world of Final Fantasy XIV that we as players just don't have our hands on. Like Beastmasters exist,
Right.
Geomancers exist, Necromancers exist.
Well, they teased Geomancer on the Astro job quest, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that's
So-
part of that. The Stormblood quest line.
Yeah,
Man.
Stormblood had a whole section, but I don't.
And
I'm
quick sidebar. Based off of even though I think they're not going to add another healer, but
Right.
for I guess 8.0, which is something I just remembered from the role quests. I think which one was the one with Doma where we had to go back?
I think it was range.
that was range physical.
Range physical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we get almost this Onmyoji type mage who does healer stuff. So I'm thinking that like that is possibly on the back burner. as
Oh, when Gosetsu
Right.
essentially became a conjurer.
well. Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost Onmyoji like, and I'm like, maybe that's a thing.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't
don't
be
know.
opposed to like a job that uses, say, talismans and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it'd be awesome
Mhm.
if the new Criterion dungeon that's dropping tomorrow is like our first hint.
Oh, that could be it. It is.
Because I mean, that's heavy Far Eastern. I mean, we're literally going to a mountain where they
Yeah.
have shrines, and I'm like, ooh, what if? What if?
Yeah.
Though there is one
It-
thing that a lot of people have been pointing out that I feel like I must note. A lot of players are saying that Ninja needs competition when it comes to gear. We need another job
Right,
that
there is
uses
no other
scouting.
scouting. Yeah.
Correct. I know Yoshi P's talked about it before where he doesn't necessarily look at it directly as, range, melee, casting. He looks at it as the gear sets. That's why he
Right.
mentioned Reaper being like the competition for Dragoon. So that's why I think it's definitely going to be some sort of like scouting job specifically to combat Ninja, because right now, yeah, it's just Ninja.
Ninja hasn't had
so-
anyone to challenge their gear pull since 2.0.
Exactly. And,
That's so
and,
funny.
I mean,
Always got a
outside of
good roll
leveling
when
up-
I was playing Ninja.
Exactly. Outside of leveling up dungeons before level 50, where you're getting some of that strength gear, like Ninja's always just been on an island by itself. So obviously, we all predict a caster just because there's 3, minus
Yeah.
blue mage. But then I'm also thinking about the scouting gear set. So that's why 7.0, I'm like holding on to the copium that there would be 2 jobs just to fit those 2 ideas that we.
So kind of like
And if anything,
one
because-
caster and like a melee physical that's a scouting or something.
Yeah. Although it could also be a range, because range also has only 3 classes, and I've been thinking they might, if it's like a limited job, right? And it's like for one of the class archetypes that have the least amount of jobs, it could be Gambler, right? It could be a ranged buff class if it's
Right.
not limited. They could go both ways with Gambler. If they make it limited, it could be super strong, and if it's not limited, it could be a really good buff ranged DPS, like Dancer, I guess.
That is definitely something
Yeah,
I've
there's a
not
lot of options.
heard tons of people talking about. But though I gotta say, I do think it's funny that Dancer did the RNG DPS better than original Machinist did.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. That's what a lot of people who are coming late to the party don't understand. Dancer is just using Machinist's original kit,
That's so funny.
and then they
I
gutted
remember,
it.
I just recently finished leveling Machinist, so I had no idea that it worked like that.
Oh no, yeah, like
oh yeah,
the
yeah.
abilities.
Yeah,
were
I
random.
was a Heaven's Word Machinist player, and I've seen almost 3 different iterations of Machinist at this point. And yeah, Dancer is basically it's for all intents and purposes its original concept of you use one thing to proc another, and you can force procs later, that sort of.
So it sounds like the kind of consensus here is like we do like expect to see new jobs, maybe not two, at least definitely one, and if it is just one, definitely a mage most likely, and if not a mage, something that makes use of the scouting slot.
Right.
No, but that makes sense.
Seems to be the direction they have. Unless they just completely change things up, then
No, yeah, honestly, if we were following like the job formula that they've been releasing so far, technically the next two jobs would be one tank and one caster DPS. Because like back in they've always released one like melee distance and one range distance class, like to kind of keep the balance per expansion. Like ever since Heavensward, like of course Heavensward had 3 jobs, and then Stormblood began with the 2. Stormblood, of course, had Red Mage and Samurai, a melee and a range, and then of course Shadowbringers happened. What do we get? Gunbreaker and Dancer, a melee and a ranged. Endwalker, same thing. Healer, of course, filling the role of ranged, and Reaper filling the role of melee. So if we kind of follow that trend, a tank and a ranged is technically what's coming next. But they could flip the script, and I'd still be cool with that.
Right.
If they add another tank, I just know like the balance will get even crazier because I know Dark Knights are just like thriving right now.
Honestly,
but like
I feel like we're in a good place with tanks at the moment. We don't need another tank.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, the thing is also like the thing that you need to keep in mind is they're homogenizing all the classes even further now. So I wouldn't be certain. They could, by the time they release the new class, they could be just homogenous enough that adding an extra tank or an extra healer would have changed the balance too much for them. Because at this point, they buffed up Warrior so much that now Warrior is again like on par with close to Dark Knight, not even touching Gunbreaker in the higher levels of play. But you know, like at this point, it's like this. All the while up until 7.0, when they release the classes, they're gonna have enough time to change the class system enough to overlay the classes enough to be able to put another tank or healer without much trouble.
How come in Endwalker, Warriors got new self-heals and Dark Knight lost one of theirs?
We stole them.
I'm so mad still.
Warriors is your favorite child. It's always been that way ever since they got shaken off in 4.1, where we were just like, where did this come from? I just always realized that they're just the favorite child.
Honestly, I've always kind of felt that way about Paladin. Ever since they got Clemency, it feels like almost all of their abilities are just dope.
No, Paladin, like, as someone who mains tanks, Paladin has been my least favorite to play because it doesn't go hard enough on the point that he's strong at. The only advantage I think of Paladin has is that they have 2 raid-wide mitigation ability that I don't think any other tank has 2, like Paladin does.
Though Paladin's invuln is technically the strongest.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's just that I don't actually take. It's a cheat, right? It's like you don't get to hurt me for like 10 seconds.
Oh man, because they cheat.
They cheat. They're cheaters.
Oh man,
yeah, that's funny.
Didn't Yoshi P like go on record saying that, hey, we understand how OP Paladin's invuln is compared to the others, but like, what do you want us to do?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. They can have it as a treat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I guess the consolation is that theirs takes the longest to get back, so...
No, the consolation is that they have the weirdest opener for the rotation I've ever seen.
Oh.
It's just so weird that you have to... What is it, like 10 seconds? You have to prepare your roll 10 seconds to fit your whole rotation correctly. It's insane.
Oh, wow.
Insane like
something like that.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Wow.
With Warriors, way simpler.
But since everyone seems to be in agreement that a mage would be one of the most likely new choices for a job. What kind of mage would you all want to see at FanFest? What would excite you most to see up on that stage? Be like, oh fuck yes.
It's a good question.
Well, like there are two sides, right? Like there's my fanboy side that I want to see this class, but then there's like my realistic side, right? Realistically, Geomancer would be the choice, right? They moved White Mage away from Aero and Earth abilities, so Geomancer would fit perfectly with air and Earth kind of magic. I want to see a gun mage. I want to see a guy with a magical gun, right? I want to shoot my enemies with magic, right, with a gun. But I don't think they're going to do that.
A lot of
the
people
lore
would say,
for elegant guns. Yeah.
A lot of people would say, isn't that just
They,
machinist?
Fair.
Yeah.
You read the lore book entries for the elegant guns. They were using powdered crystal for their ignition. So I mean, they were using magic technically back in the day to shoot the bullets. The foundation is there. Just give them a very special elegant gun, and then you're good to go.
It's funny you bring that up because like whenever someone asks me like, hey, Garleans can't use magic, yeah? And I'm like, yeah, Garleans can't use magic. And they're like, how the heck does Gaius create shadow clones of himself? And I'm just sitting there kind of shrugging like, Magitech, I don't know.
It's definitely Magitech. It's Cerulean. It's it's all Cerulean ignitions that they manage, but because it's it's ethereal oil, so it gives them that ability to do that. But everyone else used magic, so
yeah, exactly. All right, but that's what Abe wants to say. What about you, Croton? What kind of mage would rock your socks?
I see. I know it's probably because I've seen a lot of people debate it before, especially when Red Mage came out. They were like, it reminded them of other jobs, but like Rune Knight, I've seen that been brought up a couple times, and I think Rune Knight, if I recall, is a tactics job.
That
originally,
and Mystic Knight, which is like from Final Fantasy IV as well.
Either one of those or like Spellblade concepts where you actually like if you could ignite your weapons with elemental damage. I mean, not count it for elemental damage since we don't do that anymore. But like if you were to like imbue your weapons with magic, like a Spellblade of some sort, that would be pretty cool, I think. Like if it was, I don't know how to describe it. Like just putting the magic into the weapons itself.
I mean, in that case, what if like they only release one new job, but it's like the first job that's just as strong at melee as it is at range?
Ooh, that would be cool.
And that's its entire gimmick.
Probably maddening for some jobs.
Or it could be the reverse of Red Mage, where their combo, they have like all melee stuff, then build it up to a ranged combo. Where they have more mobility. That could be it too.
Could actually, a lot of people have been calling for something like that, and I think that would be well received. Honestly, so it certainly tickles
do
my
ranged bursts and things like that.
Yeah, it certainly tickles my Spellblade love.
Yeah.
What about you, Sly?
I've kind of been memeing on this for like a long time, and I really wouldn't classify it as a. Oh yeah, I would. You know what? Chemist.
Oh yeah.
Happen all the time. And every time someone mentions chemist, all I can just imagine is some dude running across the battlefield and like Kesha glitter bomb someone's face with a potion.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I mean even harder and said like calculator before, but I know we're never getting calculator. So
that's funny.
Accountant.
Yeah.
No. It's like that Riddermana Cataract raid, where you're gonna put little like circles with numbers over them, and you tell the party like, okay, if you want good damage, stand in the right numbers, please.
Oh, that'd be so funny. So we already have the setting for the arithmetician. They've already brought up the word before, and now it's like I mean, you could just literally give us a math class. Like, I don't know how many people would enjoy playing it. I mean, I for one, am terrible with numbers.
Oh, man.
So, but
honestly,
oh my goodness.
as much as that isn't my wheelhouse, part of me would love to see that because I feel like a lot of mechanics in 14 have gotten like. I don't want to say oversimplified, but it definitely feels like it's like Aiden said. There's been a lot of homogenization lately, so seeing something that requires a bit more effort, I wouldn't be against it, honestly. And Chemist, as funny as it would be to see someone like throwing glass vials at a party member across the map.
A chemist could be a more advanced version of the ninja, the Mutra.
Oh,
is that how you pronounce it?
Mudras, yeah.
Mutra, yeah. It could be because I've been playing ninja a lot recently, got back into it. And I always catch myself like, I wish I had more of these. I wish I could do more combos.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah, it's just like 3-4 things you can do.
And for the last one now, what would you want to see out of a caster job?
I've been racking my head over this for a long while, but whenever I think of casters, I automatically think of alchemist, chemist, whatever. But then I think about specifically Lulu in 10, where I know she's like, formerly a black mage, but she has a little doll, right, that she uses to attack. And I can think that we can use some sort of concept like that, because when you think of the casters, they always wear these flowing robes, and with 14 trying to create something new while also trying to create like a silhouette for people to easily recognize what a job is from a distance, carrying a little doll on your shoulder, on your back, on your hip, or whatever is something that I think would automatically attract people. And then you could also say, it's related to Lulu. But having said that, you could also do, Riku's thing with sort of mixing. And I think that's a really cool concept because as a former ninja player, but like even then as a somebody that likes dancer, like seeing things flashing and being able to create different combinations in the heat of battle is always really cool. And while we don't want that to get to Astro, where I just don't have fun with managing 16 different things at once, I still think that there's a good middle ground that you can use to create sort of something flashy while still being able to pull out good damage.
During your entire explanation, I suddenly just imagined like Final Fantasy XI's Puppet Master, but like a dedicated mage class.
Yeah,
that would actually
really
be really cool. I can see it in my head. It's actually kind of cool looking.
Yeah,
the lore on Charlie and automatons we can sort of, walk around with, I think would be really cool.
No, that would be interesting.
And it's another Matsuno nod, of course, because Yoshi P loves his Matsuno nods, because they had a doll master in Tactics Ogre. So they control dolls was the weapon, and you actually would get bonuses if you combined them in armies with golems. And so the golems would like give them bonus stats, and they would give bonus stats to the golems. It was a really interesting dynamic. So if they introduced something where we're like creating golems from scratch, for an attack or something like that, I mean, that would be really cool to see.
No, for sure. Honestly, and that's like the beauty of the situation Final Fantasy XIV's in right now. They can go any direction, they can do anything, and make it work. And so all these suggestions got me thinking and got me excited for sure. But staying on track, do they reveal where we're headed next at the first convention? Usually, you say?
It's a teaser. At best, it's going to be a lot of red herrings. It's going to be a lot of so I'll just, for an example, right, from 2018, we saw the Sin Eater, but we didn't know it was a Sin Eater. When we saw it, we were like, that's that boss from Amdapur. And no context at all. Nobody knew what it was about.
There's still no context as to why the Amdapuri...
as to why there was a connection. Yeah, no. They've never answered that.
Isn't the theme Isn't the theme of that part of the dungeon light crystals and light based
no, for
mobs?
sure.
Yeah, but there's no connection
The-
to the first that we know.
The
so.
best information we got was a single line of text in the second lore book that said, based on otherworldly beings.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's literally it.
Yep, that's it. That's all they've told us. So if we get more information, the chance of it would probably be in the third lore book if they remember to put it in there. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at a lot of context they got to get into the third book in the first place. So I'm not entirely sure if it'll be answered at all, if at all. But that's why we got to get another interview so we can drop that question in the middle of the interview.
No. See, that's the entire reason why I signed up for like the cosplay contest. When I get my robes,
Yes, let's go.
I'm gonna run across the stage and just tackle Yoshi P, going, "You've got 5 minutes to answer every question I've got."
But no, for sure. That's when the Sin Eater appeared on the screen, it did its thing where it descended, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, why is it attacking us?" I remember hearing people behind me yell, "That's Hydaelyn," and I was like, "What?" I was like I turned around, like, "What? No." I mean, I understand we don't know what it is, but that's definitely not Hydaelyn. It's Amdapor, and so we, a bunch of people were just super like throwing a bunch of different theories out there, but that's. Yeah, it was theory central for 4 months until the next FanFest, when we then found out that we would be going to the first. But I want to say that the closest guess, of course, was Anonymous, because he ended up doing a whole thing where he talked about blank. He called it blank scent, was the word he used before we found out the term Sin Eater, because he was like, well, it sounds like, they had the flood of light. And so this is what happens when you have a flood of light compared to the flood of darkness with the void scent. And yeah, he was pretty close. He got pretty close before they finally gave us the full information. But for the most part, we'll get a very cool visual, but no context as to what they're showing until the next FanFest.
That being said, though, where do you all think we're headed? Aside from finally unclouding Ilsabard.
New World.
I can, yep.
All right.
Either that or Meracidia, depending on the direction of what that letter was.
That letter is still sitting on her counter. Like, you can go and...
Yeah, she hasn't... Yeah. So, I'm assuming that's going to be a 6.5 thing. She finally reads it. And then we get to read it with her. And it's like... Smash introduction. No, I'm kidding. Everyone's calling it the Smash invite.
Yeah. Oh, that would actually be kind of... Oh, I would love to get to beat up Joker. Oh, man.
But yeah, no, whatever that Smash invite is taking people, that's probably our next destination. And if it's... I'd imagine they could go either way, make it Meracidian specific or make it New World specific, but it's definitely going to be in a new way, like launching ourselves out in that direction.
Well, I mean, they could go for the Stormblood route, because Stormblood, in the series of expansions, Stormblood worked as a bridge from one story to the story of Doma and Gravania, and also as a heavy exposition for what was to come. So I'd imagine they might go for the route of, you go to Meracidia because the letter is, a call for help from people from Meracidia, something like that. And also you deal with a similar situation or a parallel situation in another world, right? And it's like a story of two sides again. Mm-hmm. It could be that too.
Honestly,
we also have... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, they've done a good job with seeding connections to both Meracidia and the New World, because... Of course, when people think of the New World, a lot of people think of the Blue Mage job, but that's not all. We've also got the Beast Tribe, the Mamul-Ja, they're from the New World, and everyone's favorite admiral, Merlwyd Blohisfin, has been to the New World twice already. So there's that connection there as well.
Emmett also talking about that, being like, "Oh, have you gone to Meracidia?" Or whatever his accent is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Emmett's final speech.
Yeah, you know anything about that place? Because I do. He's like, no, we don't.
Oh, trust me. That
I wish.
bit still pisses me off, because it's all like, I bet you've never been there. And I'm sitting there going, listen here, you little shit. I want to go there.
The devs the list to go.
I'm waiting on you at this point.
Right.
But like with
Yeah, personally, there's a lot of different places we can go. I mean, ever since they revealed the Crystal Tower, and I remember saying this to my friends, I was like, "No way, we're going to the first. We still got so much to experience on the source." And she was like, "No, that's obviously the Crystal Tower from 3. That's 3's music. You know, we're going to the first. All this sort of stuff from the very first trailer we didn't know."
Wow.
So I was just proven wrong, flat out. And so ever since then, I just have to, like, we can do whatever they want, right? Like it doesn't really matter what we think; they're going to just do it. But even then, with
Fair.
such dragons, with Virtra, with all the stuff about Thavnair, learning about the dragons, you know, we've helped Tiamat, all this other sort of stuff around Golbez. There's just a lot of dragon central stuff, and even then, we look at Grahatia, and he talks about where he's from and everything, and it's just like there's all these sort of places right by us, like on the Yosemite continent, or even just in Mericidia and all this Allegan lore. And so I think personally that we're really just going to focus on one region. I don't think we're going to do another split. I think we're going to focus on Mericidia just because, as I imagine it, it's very large, but we honestly have no huge idea. But yeah, my vote is we've been dealing with dragon stuff. 6.5 is going to have us go to that whole other continent. And I feel like we're just going to have that one expansion just for a giant region, honestly. But that's my.
I mean, it's people have been asking for Mericidia since Heaven's Ward because of the Warring Triad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we found out about the tribes that summoned Sephiroth and Sophia and all that. So we know that when we go down there, we're already going to encounter no less than 4 civilizations, because you got Tiamat's brood, you have the tree people, you have the centaurs, and you have Sophia's civilization. And that's all that's all available. And we could just oh, hey, let's help you get back up after 5,000 years of not really being able to do anything.
No, yeah, honestly,
your entire country got destroyed.
We don't even know if their civilization still persisted after the invasion.
Yeah,
like that was thousands of years ago.
The hostility. All we know is that they're still hostile. Like if anyone's tried to establish some form of travel, it's always been cut off. And I think back as far as 1.0. They were saying there was some sort of trade going on, because some of the tooltips, if you look at some of the tooltips in Final Fantasy XIV, they have items that originate from Mericidia that exist on the Eorzean continent. So there's some form of trade in the past that was established.
It's just not open
That's
trade.
It's just not open trade. It's like you probably have to do black market sort of stuff to get anything from Mericidia at all, because landing on the shores will probably get you more or less in trouble, because they don't trust anyone from the north.
Honestly,
from this
if I was on a continent just vibing and then suddenly invaded by another continent out of
the entire empire,
by the entire empire for no reason other than for the lulz, I'd be pretty pissed too.
Right. And it was empire invasion, right? Mainly through, I want to say, they started off with the automata, so they had all the robots just attack the continent, and then halfway in the middle of the war, they start summoning Void Sent. It's like, that's so unfair.
Well, that's the thing, right?
You got robots, Void Sent, and dragon hybrids with the machines. Ooh.
They started with their regular old infantry, and when that didn't work, they started to create the summoning arts to counter the primals they were creating. And when that didn't work, they made chimeras to fight the dragons, and then just to cherry on top, they started summoning Void Sent.
Void Sent.
It's like, Empire, chill the heck out.
Literally.
But
so yeah, there's a lot to explore, a lot to we also got the hints. I actually got to do a panel on this last LunarCon. We went over the different areas that Emmett was talking about, and deep into the research, I found out they've made references to pyramids on Mericidia. So we get, the hints of Egypt, and we get the hints of Australia, because there's kangaroos in Mericidia. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different things that they can pull off of, and it's going to be a pretty big zone. I was thinking about this part, though. Entering into 7.0, we have to remember that the arc of light and darkness is over now, right? Mm-hmm. So everything we grew up with, I say grew up with, it's...
Well,
everything
it's been
we
10 years.
are familiar with.
This is part of our lives now.
Right. Literally, yeah. It's everything we grew into with Zodiark, with Hydaelyn. None of that is going to apply starting 7.0. 7.0 is going to be it's all new material. They even said that the patches aren't really going to lead into it. 7.0 starts its story at launch and then will continue into a new era. So, there's really at this point, it's like, what area of the world of Heidelin can they use to introduce a whole new generation of players? And that's why I'm thinking like Mercy would be great, but then it makes me wonder: is it too embedded in the current lore to be accessible to new players? If they use the new world, I mean, if you've seen the new world, by the way, that thing is huge.
Oh, it's even bigger than the three great continents.
It's bigger. Yes, it's bigger than the three great continents. So I'm like, that's a lot of land they can use, and definitely with zero context that we have, we definitely have more context with Morass City than we do the New World. With that lack of context, would it be the better option for new players? And I'm like, huh. But once again, they could just surprise us all, and then we're going to the 7th, something like that. What?
I guess it depends on how long they want to take with it, because that's another thing that since we're talking about what we were expecting to see, it's like because they ended like at 10 years now, like recently 10 years of a story ended in Endwalker, and so right now they have to establish a whole new area with a whole new set of politics and how those are going to interact with the already established lore and established set of politics and characters we have. I wouldn't be surprised if this, like realistically speaking, if in this announcement they focus more on the graphical update that is upcoming soon, because they usually do every 2 years an expansion, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if they're going to do an expansion this at the end of this year or at the middle of the next year, right? They might take a little longer for this. Although they do keep a tight schedule too, so it's complicated, I guess.
Yeah, 6.45 is right here, and so
tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah, 6.5 is another 8 weeks out, right? Is that the math? 8 weeks, I think, because it's 16.
We're getting part 1 at FanFest.
Yeah.
And then maybe I want to say it's like a couple weeks after they give us part 2. So yeah, it's right around the corner.
Okay. And so yeah, I'm not we don't even have 6.5 here yet, so they're not going to give us a whole lot. I said, I remember the first Stormblood FanFest, we saw, as we know now, Lise in the red outfit, and we were like, who is this red person? Is this a dancer? We didn't even have yet. Heaven's Ward wasn't even finished yet. And so it's like, who is this blonde lady that the Warrior Light's fighting? Is this a dancer versus monk? What's happening? So we had no idea. And that was the first FanFest, right, for Stormblood. So it's like, I'm always thinking about like how much little information are we going to have constantly for this upcoming FanFest. So I don't think they're going to give us a whole lot other than name and then the teaser. They won't even tell us like necessarily where we're going, strictly because 6.5 isn't here yet. As far as I'm aware, 6.5 is something's going to happen in 6.5 that caused us to sort of understand that 7.0 is going to be a new beginning. So
right,
I'm holding out for anything big. I'm honestly just expecting a name and a concept and what we might do there, but that's about it. They're going to probably just put on us that it's a new adventure. They're gonna constantly reiterate that it's gonna be a very, I'm assuming, very 2.0-ish feeling to the trailer, maybe. So pretty light, not nearly anything.
Okay. The last time they said new adventure, the Void immediately started to destroy everything.
Right.
I would say that, like I said, just like with the first, they can do whatever they want, but that's what I'm thinking of like, new adventure, a new feeling, something bright, something easily digestible for new fans. It's not going to be like something we see and we're like, oh my God, it's such and such. We're all going to be like, what the heck is happening? So that's what I'm doing.
Well, they probably are going to go for trying to capture that sense of wonder and not knowing what's going on. Because they not only they want to bring in a new, like the new players that join in Endwalker, they want to give them an experience, but they want to grab the old players and be like, okay, you've known what's going on for a decade now. Here, feel lost again for a bit. I would hope they would try to capture all of the audience.
And honestly, that kind of moves us into the next topic extremely well. So essentially, Final Fantasy XIV is more or less in a rhythm. I suppose y'all would agree. Yeah, they release their expansion. That we do our patches. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next expansion, so on and so forth. Rinse, repeat. Are there any things like new concepts, new mechanics, new things that aren't presently in Final Fantasy XIV that you would love to see like introduced into the game to kind of give it that sense of wow, that sense of fresh, to give it that new coat of paint, like Adan said, to not only wow new people, but to make older people say like, yes, I still love this MMO and here's why. So, Sly, if you'd be so kind as to lead us on this one, because I feel like you've got a lot of experience probably talking about that with, I think you said you've done podcasts with Mr. Happy, and he's very well known for having varied opinions on 14.
Yeah. And you say mechanics and things like that, and like that was one of the first things I really thought about was we talked about recently raid and how this tier, or just in general, how there have been so many iterations of limit cut, it hasn't even been funny. So
Oh gosh.
yeah, I would love to see like you have your core mechanics and fights and whatnot, and I'd love to see something different to make us think a little bit like outside the box. I mean, like you could put it in a different way, but it's still going to be limit cut at the end of the day. And like there's it's not only that, it's just other simple mechanics that we haven't seen before, things like that. What else? As far as like something to kind of give it a fresh coat of paint, I guess. We often leave the casual content to the side as well. So I know in my media tour interview with Yoshi P, I asked for something specific. Not blitzball like everybody else in their mind. No. Because we have Mahjong. Why don't we have Koi Koi? And I asked him verbatim, like, can you make this happen?
That's
He's
awesome.
like, if it gets requested enough, sure. Yeah,
Nice.
but Hanafuda, Koi Koi, yeah, that'd be something like I would be interested in. I would be like, I would go whole ass in that. Like, not a lot, you don't hear a lot about a bunch of people going hard in Mahjong. Maybe just a few, but I would go whole ass for some Koi Koi. That's just
you would just be
That's
lost
awesome.
in the gold saucer playing Koi Koi.
Yeah, and just because like it's such a fun game, and not a lot like, and there are a few games that have it as a side attraction, and I'm like, why don't we have this in 14? Hanafuda would be great. I mean, it would work well for Hingen or Hingen culture. Why is it not there? Anything else? Honestly, yeah, I'm really simple. So really, it was just mechanics and fights, and then give me Koi Koi, and I'd be happy.
So
awesome.
make the raids a little more interesting and give the man some Koi Koi.
Yeah.
No, that works for me.
Nice.
And New World barbecue pits.
Yes.
Because
Absolutely,
again, they were mentioned.
Yes.
were mentioned.
So. Oh
You
my
know what?
God,
Go ahead,
I'm so
Crow, and
excited.
you're next
Remember
because you
that.
actually did research on this.
Yes. Oh my
Go for it,
god.
Craw.
Yes, they mentioned the Caribbean they mentioned the Caribbean reference in Endwalker. It was one of the craft requests, and they talked about barbecue. And oh my gosh, that. So my mom's from Trinidad, so I have a very strong attachment to Trinidad culture, Jamaican, that the Caribbean aesthetic. So when they mentioned that got me really excited. Please, yes, barbecue pits, please.
But other than
So
barbecue
awesome.
pits, what would you like to see like 14 expand upon or experiment with in the future?
So this is going to sound
Go
funny,
for it.
and I don't know if anyone remembers, but I want to know how they are going to finish the ranking system for Grand Company. They-
Everyone forgets
Because-
that exists.
Yes, everyone forgets it exists. They haven't upgraded since First Lieutenant, and now I'm sitting here. I'm like, how would we become a champion of the Grand Company? Like, what crazy concept will they cobble together to allow us to get that rank? Because I don't think they even have champions in the active military as is. So, like, why did they name it that and then have this unattainable rank that is visible on the player character screen? Like, you can open up your character profile and look at your rank, and it's like, oh yeah, there's like 7 ranks above you that you will never see.
The Warrior of
I'm
Light,
curious to see if they'll ever touch
Slayer
that.
of Gods,
Right.
Traveler of the
The
Universe.
hero of the hour, literally liberator, savior of the planet
is
itself,
only a
still
second-class
is
lieutenant.
outranked. It's still outranked by whoever a champion is, and I'm like, who's the champions? Like, we haven't even meet these people. Like,
No,
aside
yeah.
from it's so funny. But I would love to see some sort of explanation on how that would become a cool concept to obtain. And I don't even know what kind of benefits we would get after all, because I mean, at this point, it's just stacking more layers of oh hey, here's another slot for your Grand Company chest. But other than that, it's like it would be cool to see. I would love to see their take on a future for that system and finish it off at least. They provided those ranks ages ago. We just have never been able to get them.
10 years of staring at that rank
Yep.
list and only
Yep.
seeing it like
Yep.
increase by like 2. That actually reminds me. Ever since they like released the free company housing like crafting system with like airships and submarines, they've constantly upgraded where submarines can go, but they've never
But
actually
airships
touched
are
airships.
frozen. Yeah. Airships cut out at 60.
Yeah, airships are the same as they were on release, which makes no sense compared to submarines. But that's a personal observation. Nell, what about you? What new flavors would you hope to see / expect from 14?
That's a good one. A good one. I mean, ultimately, the gold saucer stuff is going on right now, and there's always they can add in new things. If it's another jumping puzzle, I'm going to cry. But I think they can do not like a rehaul, but I mean, you look at Lords of Romania, and that doesn't really get stuff done half the time. And then the Chocobo racing, I know there's a few people addicted to that. One of my friend's fiance was addicted to that for a long while. There's a lot of cool things in the gold saucer, so I could see some new and interesting things. Saying Blitzball is just a low-hanging fruit. But I wouldn't be surprised at the same time. Like I said, new fans, they want to get new people involved so they can put something in that's really at least well known. I know there's not a whole lot of 10 players, but when you say Blitzball, that's definitely a term that people are familiar with. I mean, from there, one of the biggest things that I was always asking about was, NPC dungeons. So that's something that they've been iterating on more and more. So in all honesty, I don't really have much else outside of just sort of updating things like the grand companies and getting more involved, I guess, with who you can take into the dungeons. Because I mean, right now we have you can take in NPCs to the dungeons, but there's very little for the people that you can assign. I'm blanking on the name of the people that you can sort of adopt into your own grand company.
Right.
Squadrons, that's what it is. Squadron. I can see. I would love if they just sort of adapted that and just sort of iterated on it even more, because I mean, I think the max you can take them in is like 60 dungeons or something like that.
I think that stopped at
Yeah, they
60,
stopped
yeah.
them. They stopped them at 60. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just such a weird stopping point, and I get, they're you got all the other different NPCs. I mean, would you rather take in squadrons or would you rather go into a dungeon with Emmerich or Horchfon or something like that? So I understand their maybe unwantingness to upgrade those, but I would just love to see something on that. I thought it was a really cool concept that they kind of just like, made really cool and then just kind of sat on it. I still go there from time to time
Yeah.
to where my squadron is. So yeah, I would love to see more of that, I guess. Maybe take them into the overworld instead of a chocobo or something like that. Summon one
Actually,
of them.
that would be
But
kind of
that's
dope.
just, that's just how,
They had a similar system
Yeah,
in Final
that's
Fantasy
cool.
XI, actually.
yeah. And as a fan of Star Wars: The Old Republic, you could take your people from your ship outside with you, and I would just love to sort of be like, hey, person that I got from my exploits as the Warrior Light, let's go on.
Come on, let's go on an
doing
adventure.
fate. Right?
Yeah.
I would like that. And as a new adventure type of feel, I think that would be pretty cool for people to work.
Absolutely.
No, I can totally get behind that. I always thought it was cool, like how if you're doing a dungeon with them, the limit break becomes like the Warrior of Light kind of just stand there with their hand up and ordering all of them to attack in unison. That was actually really cool to me. I'm like, oh, they made a unique limit break for this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool concept that I get. They're like, why do this when we could just put in Kryl and Stinian and all of them in a dungeon? And I get that, but like I said, if we could take these guys into the overworld, I think would be even cooler. That's just
Fair enough. And what about you, Aiden? What kind of things would excite you?
There's quite a few things that I wish when it comes to like more of the gameplay side stuff that you could do. First of all, like everybody else mentioned, the Grand Company. I wish they would expand on that. I think it's a really cool idea that they just kind of left behind, and I wish they would pick it up again, modernize it a bit. But beyond that, I wish the Island Sanctuary. I wish because you can have minions in there. And I wish they have the whole Minion system that was completely abandoned. That was really cool too. I wish there was like content that you could do in the Island Sanctuary, including your minions and the Lord of our Minion system, that could reward you with rare materials or island crowries. Like a weekly challenge where like there are waves of enemies and you have to fend them off with an RTS style Lord of our Minion kind of system. And then like. I think that the biggest change in like the way they move ahead with patches and updates, I wish they would be more on top of PvP, because my biggest gripe with PvP and the reason why I think a lot of people don't play as much is because PvP gets updated at the same rate that the patches come out. So at the same time, PvE gets updated. But my problem is that PvP doesn't work that way. You need to be on top of it constantly because you do a little change and you think, oh, this fixes it. And immediately, like 3 exploits that are even worse than before get born out of that. And it takes away the fun because you're playing by yourself. They don't let you queue up with a full team. And then, like, the other team has like a preset party of 4 that is completely broken and melts away entire alliances. And it's like, this is not fun. I am playing PvP and I'm not having fun, and that I think they should be more on top of it. I think they should do in between patches. They should have a couple patches specifically for PvP, addressing the biggest, most glaring issues. Because if they want to have PvP, they need to be on top of it. They can't treat it like PvE when it comes to the update frequency.
Right.
I can get behind
I
that,
think those are the biggest
honestly,
changes.
because I feel like PvP in 14 is like more popular now than it's really ever been. And I feel like we have Crystalline Conflict to thank for that a lot.
Yeah.
So it would behoove them to be a bit more...
Yeah, beyond Crystalline Conflict, because Crystalline Conflict has the benefit that you can't team queue into Crystalline Conflict. So you don't get like broken teams that can destroy yours, right? But in Frontlines, an event that takes 72 people to go into, Frontlines, a group of 4 people can like party up, go in there, and just melt entire alliances. And it's not fun for casual players. People that do their dailies that would be like, oh, I actually kind of like it. They're like, nope, I'm not touching PvP again. And I have many friends that are like that. They don't like PvP because a Dark Knight and 3 Astros just destroyed their entire team in 2 seconds.
Or 4 summoners all
It's-
limit break at the same time.
Yeah, Dark Knight pulls 3 summoners, limit break, and everybody dies. Yeah, it's. I just wish there was a little bit more. They were a little bit more on top of PvP.
Makes sense. I, for my part, feel like 14 could do with some degree of customization. And what I mean by that is look at, say, like the job system, for instance. For the longest time, it's been this thing of like, oh, if you pick Black Mage, you're essentially the same as every other Black Mage. Or if you pick Dark Knight, you're essentially the same as any other Dark Knight. And that makes sense from a design perspective, because if everything is following a formula, it's that much easier to patch, it's that much easier to balance, etc. But there is one thing I think they could do, which wouldn't affect the numbers at all, and that is the ability to kind of move or select certain animations / effects from certain abilities and spells. Because I've been going around lately and meeting all sorts of people from like either roleplay venues or just huge fans of Final Fantasy 14 that have created these massively impressive concepts. And while I would never encourage people to use third-party software because it is against the terms of service within Final Fantasy 14, I have noticed a lot of people that have created very interesting like ability or animation workups for the game. And I think to myself, you know, it would be cool to see some of these spells in a form that I'm not used to seeing.
Yeah, alternate animation sets for classes that are lore friendly would be incredible.
Exactly.
I think.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I would love to see
nice.
that because, for instance, I was a huge fan of Power Slash on Dark Knight back in the day. As many of you know, Power Slash is gone.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
the animation is gone and everything. And I thought to myself, if I could trade out one of the animations in my 1-2-3 combo for Power Slash, I would take it in a heartbeat. But of course, I can't. So, I don't know. I feel like even if it doesn't affect the game mechanically, some level of customization that makes players feel that they're standing out a bit more, or that their choice of favorite job is a bit more personal, I think would go like to great lengths of just making people feel like their choices and how they're playing is more of a unique experience compared to everyone else's.
I agree. I mean, as a fan who played Guild Wars 2, so goes back there off and on, there's a large amount of customization, but then when you look at the raid scene, you know, there's a set list of ones that you should have, or you're throwing, right? And so same thing here, where it's like, you know, let's say you could say, oh, I'm a Blizzard mage, right? The throwback is like, oh, I'm a Blizzard mage, I don't like to use fire.
Yeah.
And you pull up the raid and they're like, all right, we'll kick you now, right?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want that. I would say we don't want that, but like, I mean, first thing I thought of was Thunder being, let's say, a different color. I know in some games, I mean, first thing I'm thinking of is Kingdom Hearts. Thunder's yellow, right? And then Thunder here is purple-ish, I think.
Kinda,
yeah.
So just something, you know, and a small degree like that, but even things that we could get even cooler in, I think would be really cool. And we've
Yeah.
seen them do client side even different things, like for instance the summoner castings and stuff like that. So even if they were client side or, you know, server side, however they want to do it, I think more customization for more for people to be able to say, here, this is what my warlight does, it's different from yours, even though we're both paladins. I think it'd be really cool.
No,
Yeah.
like imagine a black mage. If someone picks black mage, right, and they're being a ice mage, and they aren't throwing. Yeah, so they just change like their fire spells for like some more, a few more ice animations, and boom, now they can like not only say that their warrior of light is a cryomancer, but it kind of looks that way now too, without actually affecting the in-game numbers or anything like that. Because I get it. Do I personally enjoy customization options like you would see in Guild Wars 2? Yes, of course I do. I enjoy playing with abilities and seeing what kind of cool little combos I can come up with. But that's not Final Fantasy 14. They've stepped further and further away from that type of gameplay over all the years that this game has been out.
Yeah, and it's for a reason. It's because the fact that you can't pick and choose what skills you have lets them have more freedom and precision with the raids and hard content they create to make it into a beautiful dance, right? It's like it's a choreography you need to learn to beat the fight, and I think it's really engaging and unique compared to other experiences I've had in MMOs. So I understand why they're doing it. I just think the solution is just make it the visual change. As you've been saying, just make it a visual.
No, yeah. But that's what I would love to see. Just some visual options. Give us a little bit of drip feed. I'm not saying like a complete rework. I'm not saying make the paladin play like a Dark Knight, but it could be fun to take advantage of some of that creativity that the community clearly wants. Because I feel like people wouldn't be making all of these like mods or coming up with all of these like roleplay shticks if they didn't want to see it in game to some degree.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, since we're talking about it, let our mounts follow us around without us being like minions do it. But summoner gets the primals following them around. Like, just let us have our mounts follow us around on the open world. That would be cool. I want my battle bear to be next to me when I walk around.
Let my summoner summon Leviathan.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Oh, man. But, let's see. We've covered the future of jobs. We've covered the future of locations. We've covered things that we would likely wish to see in the future. Now, back to the fun fan. Sorry. Back to the fan festival itself. At this coming event, which is coming up quickly, faster than I remember. I think it's at the end of next week. Yes. Which is going to be crazy. Sly, did you say you were going?
I'm going, but I'm not ready.
You're not ready.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do like a content creator thing. We're going to have to get everyone in one room or something for funsies. But other than that. So, Crowan, we've covered all these things so far, and in your experience, what have we not discussed yet that you would expect us to be introduced to at this coming fan festival?
Because I know the panels, they always do a really good job with the panels. I noticed they did their lore panel is going to be, it's not the first day, it's the second day, and they're going to be specifically covering language, which I'm down. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV has been a awesome platform for conlanging, and they use a lot of linguistic storytelling. I guess that, I don't know if that's the proper phrase, but they use the idea of linguistics to tell stories and to world build a lot. You know, especially with the Fae and dragons. So, you know, I'm super forward to really excited to see what that panel is going to cover. Don't know exactly yet, but they did say it's going to be covering languages, so we're going to see what that's all about. Panels are going to be awesome. I am excited to see what happens with the boss fight, because we're actually going to be able to fight a primal that hasn't been, I say primal. We're going to be doing a trial that isn't introduced into the main game yet. It's on a side server or a separate server. We're going to be playing the Gilded Araya. So, you know, whatever that fight's going to be like, if it's going to be hard, if it's going to be easy, you know, what's the context of Ashura, and why is Ashura finally being added to the game? You know, we get to find that out, so that's going to be pretty fun. So hope to see you all try that out. Try that fight out at least once, for sure. Definitely try to get in there quick, because last time the Ojimbo lines were insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to try that fight, you definitely got to get in the line as soon as you can.
No, man. Honestly,
then-
since I've never been to like a convention like this, or any huge conventions for that matter, like this is going to be a whole new experience for me. So
It's so fun. I will say that it's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot to do. Because I know, let's see, because in 2018 they also had that like little meetup spot that they themed after Kugane. They had a little Far Eastern meetup spot with a life-size etherite, and like people were taking pictures there and they were actually using that as a meeting point. It's like, hey, I'm going to be by the etherite, and then everyone could just meet up there, and it was actually a really cool idea. So I also want to see what the design is going to be this year.
So that's where I hand out all of my Uncloud Ilsabard stickers. Then is what you're saying.
Yes. No, the etherite was a great point to meet people. It's definitely like the central point of the convention itself, and a lot of people would meet up at the etherite to do other things. And yeah, that would be an awesome place to promote the name, promote the intention, so we can finally get a full map without clouds.
Imagine them revealing the entirety of, say, like the New World or the entirety of Muricidia, while never revealing Ilsabard.
Like the Garlean Empire fell. There's literally no reason.
Oh
now.
my god!
There's nothing in the way. Get those clouds off.
The Garlean Empire fell.
Shoot.
We've already been to Wurlit.
Bosnia, Wurlit.
Just unclouded.
We know about Corvos.
No.
Like, come on.
Oh man, I think it's funny that everyone is so like curious about Corvos all of a sudden. It's just like, well, technically the name has existed for a long time.
Oh yeah.
They just haven't said anything about it.
So this is gonna sound funny. Bear with me. I did the research because I was very curious. But Corvos got mentioned by itself or by its other name, its Garlean name, Locus Aminus, right? It got mentioned 16 times in Endwalker, and it never got mentioned anywhere else except that the Chronicles of Light book. So we only had the one reference from the novel, and then all of a sudden, 16 separate references in the new expansion. So I'm like, ooh, like, I mean, I'm excited for it because the way they've described it so far, you got sword masters, you got flying carpets. I mean, that's going to be a pretty cool aesthetic to get into. But yeah, no, we had zero idea what it was. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, Graha's from there. And you're like, wait, what? Like,
honestly,
it's going to be pretty
whenever
crazy.
Stuff like that happens, and I like read comments in some of my videos where all like, oh, the developers are so smart. They were planning this a decade ahead of time. I'm like, they were not planning this a decade ahead of time.
No, they only know up 2 years in advance.
Yeah, this is something they literally just came up with.
And even then, like, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
Anonymous even pointed out that Corvos, in its principal entry, was the Chronicles of Light book. If you read the context, Corvos is basically Bravos from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
It literally sounds the same. It's got sword masters. It's got the Colossus is this. They share that same concept of a giant statue that straddles both continents. It's like, I'm like, what? Wait, so is this just a Bravos reference, or is they actually, are they actually going to build this into a separate nation? So, yeah, no, even in the beginning, it was. I think it wasn't even meant to be like a serious thing until it was just a reference to Game of Thrones, and then it became this like pivotal point of Endwalker, and you're like, whoa.
Honestly, you said.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting. I thought it was just super interesting that not only did we get more of that, but yeah, like, I mean, even in the Eorzea Encyclopedia, they mentioned the straight, and then they mentioned the giant statue straddling both sides, and now you can only see like foot. So yeah, hearing that, Graha is there. I just thought I just thought it was really, really interesting. So I want to see what they're going to do with it. I don't expect them to do too much, but I can definitely see more information, even a page or something like that in the Eorzea Encyclopedia.
Graho.
Heck yeah.
He's a hoe.
Run.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
But it's funny you bring up Corvos, because a lot of people, of course, were saying like, oh, I hope they do something like a Garlemald restoration or something like we did with Ishgard. And then it became a flame war with some of my lore fans saying like, no Garlean restoration until Dalmasca.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I mean, I want Alamigo to get. I want to go back to like actual Alamigo, like the Alamigo,
like the actual
not a dungeon. Yeah, can we please go into the city itself now? I mean, what, they've been unoccupied for a while now?
I don't know. They still haven't popped that time bubble.
That's never gonna.
Yeah, those cowards will never pop it at this point.
And we say this now, but like I've seen a lot of people on Twitter make references to. They're like, "What if the trailer drops and it's just grown up Alisane Alphino?" And I'm like, "Do you know how mind destruction, like multiple mind destructions, would happen on a like massive scale if they just showed up the twins growing up? That's it. Like that's it's just the twins older now. You're like, whoa, oh my gosh, time, it's moving forward.
Oh my god! Didn't Yoshi P say that he's afraid of doing like a time skip or something because
it's a workload issue because they would have to update all the NPC text to match the time changes, and they just explained it as a really difficult thing to keep up with a live service game. So they chose Time Bubble to make it easier for them. And I can respect that. I mean, live service storytelling is much different than a single player where you can show the passage of time pretty easy. But yeah, no, for as far as we know, the the calamity happened 5 years ago. So
that's it. That's all we know.
that's as far as we've gone.
Actually, I do have a question for all of you. And seeing how we've gone through this whole 10-year journey and everything. And in the span of that 10-year journey, we kind of had a cataclysmic type deal with, a Realm Reborn, Bahamut just, going to work and, just tearing asunder everything to make the world better, I guess. Do you feel like the devs and the writers would ever do? I mean, because right now I'm at a point where there's so many places we can go, and then but at the end of that, who's the big bad? Like, what are we going against? Like, after we get done with Golbez, like who's the bigger bad in my opinion?
Right.
But do you feel like they could do like another big shake up, or a cataclysmic event to kind of symbolize, hey, this is the next big thing that's going to happen?
Honestly, it's funny you bring that up because that's something that we kind of, like the lore group kind of discussed the last time we did something like this. And the answer we came to was that nothing established at the moment can top the Endsinger. The Endsinger was simply just too powerful, a galactic level threat that heretofore no one knew something this powerful could exist. Something that's been baking for literally thousands of years and just gaining momentum, never stopping. And we finally put it down. So the conclusion we came to is that while nothing will match something like the threat level of the Endsinger, would it be so bad if characters like the Warrior of Light went from dealing with galactic level threats to dealing with more human things? Like, imagine we end up going to Corvos, and there's of course a power vacuum right now with the fall of Garlemald, and we essentially have to help reestablish peace by either helping certain groups or fighting others. Sure, it might not be some god that we're having to beat down, but it could be if they decide to summon a primal or something. So,
fun fact, the primal that was powering, I want to say it was the diamond weapon, was actually summoned by a member of the Corvosi rebellion.
Yeah, exactly.
So they already put the seed in the story that the rebellion was summoning primals prior to the fall of the empire. So I mean, definitely could pick up the ashes from there and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So, but that's kind of what the ending we came to. It would
Right.
make more sense to deal with ground level threats than god level threats, especially after dealing with like the Endsinger and Golbez, because it would be a shame if we kind of hit the, I guess you would call the Dragon Ball issue.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like, oh well, we fought this guy, now we have to fight God, or we fought God, now we have to fight God plus. It's like, oh, we fought God plus, now how about Ultra Mega God or something?
God in a Gundam.
God in a Gundam. Speaking of Gundam, why have we not used the fucking Mecha Warrior ever since Sapphire Weapon?
Yeah, no, I would absolutely
and it
love
just
to
gets
use
stolen right from under us.
The engine
Which
can't
is so
support that.
crazy.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. That Sapphire fight was so much fun. Why did they never go back to that?
I loved it.
The engine can't handle the level of cool. It's gonna melt down. The servers are gonna die if they do it
Oh
again.
my god. See, that's the thing,
No,
though.
yeah.
When they were doing that entire tutorial, like, before the Sapphire Weapon, I'm like, wow, this is a big tutorial. They must plan on using this more than once. Imagine
Nope.
my surprise.
No, you get to play Guitar Hero. Get used to it. After that, you just play Guitar Hero to be the next one on the story. It's insane.
Oh my god.
But going back to what you mentioned about the threat level, because that's a problem with Shonen too, right? That the power escalation of things gets to a point where you can't go any higher without it just losing any meaning, right? But I also don't think that needs to mean that we don't have any threats that matter, right? Because for as powerful as the Warrior of Light is, there is a fundamental truth that is we can't kill every bad guy, right? Not every bad thing that's happening is something that we can go and just kick, right? Like Ulda and the problem they had with immigration in Ulda, that whole issue. We couldn't just go and kill a guy and it's solved, right? It's a systematic issue that needs a lot of work to be solved. And I think that if they're going to introduce a bad guy, we fought the equivalent of in D&D Vecna, right? Like a god of like that brings despair and death to the world and he's super powerful. I think now what we need is a villain that works on the confines of society, and therefore going and killing the guy is not going to actually solve the issue, right? And they're exploring those elements. They introduce those elements with the new Garlement stuff. They introduce those elements of like the people you're fighting, they are apparently evil in your eyes, but also they have the reasons for doing what they're doing, and they're working within the confines of politics. So you can't just go and kill them because that's gonna make things worse. I think they could introduce a threat, not to the Warrior of Life, of Light, but like his life and like the people around him, or her, right? There are like because you can't protect everybody all the time. So there needs to be a bad guy that works within the confines of politics and society that needs a systematic issue, and that could like hold a whole expansion in it.
And that's not even mentioning that there are still technically 4 named Asians that they have not confirmed the fates of yet.
Right.
They have not like verbatim said what has happened to Pasturat, Ultima, Halmarut, or Dodelaphon. They're still out there somewhere.
Yep.
Right. And I imagine, as far as you understand it, Emmett was the one that was facilitating their rise to the guard. So anytime they had to change out one of the Asians that were sundered, he was the one that would go and find them. So they would all have various reasons to be like, okay, is the rejoining still happening? Question mark. Goes and does some research.
Or more
wait, it's over now? Like
more interesting, they could be like, actually, the reason why I didn't help is because I didn't care for the rejoining anymore. I am broken. I am tired of this. I just want to either see everything burn or I'm gonna remake everything on my image because I think I'm right. And
Right.
because they're immortal beings that have been here for so long, they could be the catalyst to this, again, this kind of villainy that comes from a more systematic, rooted within the existing balance. That it's just, you can't just go and kill them because it's not going to solve anything, right?
Right.
I just really want to see more of that because it's the only way they're going to manage to create a threat that is both understandable to our minds. Because even Thinker was pushing a little bit where it was like, well, I kind of understand what's happening because you're showing it, but it's very difficult for me to fully comprehend the universe happening, right?
Yeah.
I just know we die and that's bad, but I don't fully comprehend the horror of everything ending in despair. So if we go any further, nobody's going to understand the real threat someone.
How funny would it be
Right.
then if we go to one of these new zones, right? And it's like Adan said, it's like maybe one of them is just tired of like the rejoinings, tired of the death and destruction. And once they heard that the Unsundered were out of the picture, they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna Netflix and chill. I don't feel. How funny would it be if we go to Corvos and we find out that Halmarut is just like a farmer?
I mean, he was in charge of
He
plants.
was in charge of
I mean,
plants
it'd
at
be like-
Life. So you go up and you're like, Halmarut, what are you doing here? He's just like, what do you think I'm doing?
It's
Well, that's
hard but honest work.
It's hard but honest work. But it's that's why I'm excited about Mericidia, because with the very troubled history that place has, and we don't know anything about the politics of it. So it could just be that one of the Asians was like, hey, I've seen what happened to Mericidia, and this is the fault of Emmet and the other Asians, and this is not right. I've lived here without my memories for a while, and now that I remember everything, this is horrible, and I don't want any part of this. I'm gonna grab Mericidia, and I'm gonna turn it into my image, and we're gonna go forward after. You know, I think, and now that the war stopped, I think now would be a really good moment for them to try to make a move. Right?
And with how they wrote Gaia back in Shadowbringers, it isn't a horror. It isn't out of left field for an Ascian to have a change of heart.
Yeah.
Right. And she was even learning how to she's like, one day I'll figure out how to use my powers. Can't do it now, but maybe I'll be able to join you on the source. And it's like, whoa.
No, how funny
better
would
do
it be
that.
if we're just vibing next expansion, then suddenly a dark portal opens up and Gaia
Gaia,
steps
yep.
out like, oh hey,
Hey, I brought my
Figured
girlfriend.
it out.
I brought my girlfriend. And he's just like, hi.
Hey,
It's like, oh my god.
hey boo, I brought you to your new dad.
Yeah. I'm with your two dads, and Tanger's like, wait a minute. Who's the other one? Laura's like, hey,
Oh my god.
That's funny.
Oh, that would actually be great.
Yeah, my 2 cents is, yeah, we pull back on galactic threats. You know, we don't want to go Gurren Lagann and start throwing galaxies at each other. I think that
Right.
we're gonna, scale back and deal with some sort of king in Mericidia that's been trying to control things, and that king's either an Ascian or controlled by one of the Ascians that kind of just hates the big three and is just like, I want to just do things my way, sort of, Fandaniel level.
it would complicate things more if the Asians weren't even involved, because that would make it even, because the Mericidians have reasons to hate everybody else. Like they do have reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So if the Asians are not involved, that would make it even worse, because it's like a Beast Tribes kind of deal. It's like they were completely correct in hating everybody else because we were intruding on their land. We were breaking promises we made with them. We're mistreating them horribly. We were the grand companies were being incredibly racist and xenophobic towards them. So of course they hated us. So Mericidia is that, but to 1,000, and with 1,000 years to hate us even more. So I think that if the Asians are not involved, it's going to become way more difficult to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because they're right. They would be correct and valid on hating them.
Yeah. And just because...
And we have to do diplomacy missions.
Yeah, just because the universe or world isn't ending does not mean there aren't things to clean up.
Well, there were
because
the world ending.
Things might not be falling apart anymore, but there are still messes that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Messes that could use a warrior of light that somehow manages to magically make everything better wherever they go.
The symbol of hope.
The symbol of hope, yes. But other than
Yeah.
that, those are the topics I had lined up. Unless there was something else that any of you wanted to talk about in regards to either the FanFest or the, I guess, new chapter for Final Fantasy XIV.
Yep. We got one thing left, and one thing that will actually probably be pretty significant, I think, in terms of how 7.0 is going to be approached. We get the graphic overhaul. We're going to get their first preview of that at FanFest. So I don't know what exactly that entails, but the game is going to look entirely different come 7.0. And there's all those jokes about it, like it's going to ruin our shaders. But, you know, like,
You mean the
I'm
shaders that they
curious to
shouldn't be
see,
using in the first place?
yeah. I mean, according to TOS. But yeah, no, the game's going to look so different. And, you know, it's like
gonna be insane.
we've made some, like, I mean, and I'm pretty sure Aiden could attest to this, but I've seen all kinds of things. People create some insane levels of content from what 14 has available through the GPOs, through the recording softwares and things. I've seen some impressive projects over the past couple of years. Well, how is that going to change in the dynamic of visual presentation when there's a massive graphic overhaul? You know,
I really hope they expand upon the GPO system, because it's I love it. It's great that it's there. It's so old and so janky. My God,
But
it's so hard to work with it.
But people make the most out of it, though, which is
right.
like it's really surprising. Like for a system, like and this goes back to me talking to a bunch of y'all on my birthday, for a system that's so simplistic and what might seem outdated, people can do some really good shit, like just with a controller. And we're not even mentioning, you know, any of the third-party software or anything, just with a controller on PS4. So, like, I honestly don't know what they can do to improve it.
Right.
Yeah, there are a few things that I think quality of life things that I think everybody would appreciate. Because like I completely agree. Like the kind of works that people do on Twitter specifically, I've seen like a bunch of people doing G posts that I go, that's insane. I've seen people working on, and I don't recommend it. I would never do that. I would never touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I've seen some work in third-party software that is incredible, like expanding the system. I just wish they had a system that allowed you to, like with WoW, you know, like allowed you to, like the transmog kind of thing. But it doesn't need to be in game for like play, but like in the GPOs, you should be able to access like a set of dresses from your glamour set to put in your character, right? I think that they should rework the camera to have like wider angles and like a better fisheye lens and like a bunch of different lenses and perspectives that you could achieve that you can't with the camera as it is right now.
Anything that would make Benny G's job easier with his content.
Yeah, and an expansion on the lighting system. I think that
lighting for sure.
Yeah, I think that you would have to only apply this next one on instanced areas, but I wish we could control the weather and day and nighttime, because waiting like an hour or half an hour just to take night shots is insane.
Oh my God, whenever I'm trying to collect footage for lore videos, and for some reason, like a curse, it's always raining. It's like,
whenever I'm trying to get pictures for fun facts, it's like my joke is with my friends is like it's always night. Like it's just always night whenever I'm trying to take pictures. I'm like, God dang it.
No, yeah, it's. But like, I have a friend. She does G poses on Twitter, like beautiful work, amazing work, and she's been talking to me about like the things she'd want to change. And I was like, yeah, no, I agree. Like, especially for people that do that as a hobby, it's just I think they would really appreciate an expansion on the system as it is.
But yeah, that was the one thing I was like, that graphic overhaul is going to do some changes. I think.
Yeah,
I'm really interested to see what happens. That's it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. But
Yeah.
no, that's about everything I got.
Oh.
We've already been running for about.
Let's not forget Primals concert. I was like, wait, there's one more thing.
Yeah.
The Primals
Aren't they
concert.
closing
If you
with
all are
that?
not headbanging, if you all are not headbanging at the end of that event, I'm gonna have questions.
Oh,
I know. I'll tell you, it's a very good concert. They do such a good.
I'll headbang as much as my mask will let me. Oh my god.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to like I know they always cover the classics, right? We're gonna get Titan. We're probably gonna get Soken and say his favorite phrase while he plays the Titan theme, if anyone
His
knows.
favorite phrase.
He screams at the top of his lungs into the mic, "Fuck you, Titan,"
What the?
while he plays it. He does. He's done it every year.
Every time.
Every time. So everyone at this point gets used to, like, we're waiting for him do it, and he'll like look at, he'll wait, and then he'll just scream it in the middle of the song, and it's just a part
Wait,
of
does
the
he just shout
presentation now.
like "fuck you" before the chorus shouts "Titan" or something?
It's like right before they start chanting
right
"Bow
bef-
down to Overdweller." Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
in the middle of the song, right before their solos. They he has it planned out.
Oh my god. Kneel to the tremor. You want little commands.
And-
There's no salvation for the sons of man. It's gonna fuck you, Titan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's gonna hit, and you're gonna be like, "Did
he just
say that?"
shout
And you'll be
"fuck
like,
you,
"No,
Titan" at the top
no."
of his lungs?
Yeah, that is the biggest part of the concert that cracks me up to this day because it's so jarring and so out of nowhere.
Oh my god.
But then you're so excited about it that when he gets ready to say the second time, the whole audience joins in. And
Oh. See, now I'm excited.
oh, the concert's so good. You're gonna love it, for sure. And then, of course, on top of that, like, which songs are gonna add to the lineup? Because they always do their classic ones, and then they add the ones that are recent. So we will probably see some cool renditions of the new songs from Endwalker. I imagine, oh my gosh, if they do Scream live, that's gonna be so.
Ooh, that's
cool.
gonna hit hard.
It's so good. It's such a good song for a raid tier out of nowhere. Just completely slaps. I would love to see that presented live. But
Soken
yeah.
has no
Other than that,
business
that
being
is my
talented.
FanFest thing. I know, right?
Making us all look bad, man.
So good.
Oh man, yeah, you're gonna have to fill me in sometime over this week or at the start of the next one of all the stuff I'm gonna have to do, because I have no
yeah.
clue.
Be prepared to be busy.
Good,
but have fun.
I would
That's the most
love to
important part.
be busy. I've already gotten like a
Yeah.
lot of PMs by people saying like, "Oh, if I see your like robes and mask, I'm gonna drag you aside and give you a hug." I'm like, "Okay,
That's
let's do it."
Yeah.
I apologize. I do need to leave. If that's okay.
No, honestly, I feel like we've been going for almost an hour and 40 minutes, and I think we've covered all the topics.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. That's pretty much everything I can
Yeah,
say.
and unless anyone wants to get a word in edgewise.
One more week.
One more week. One more week. And then,
Tomorrow is a big day for blue mages. So.
One more week, and then everything we've talked about today will be put to the test. So, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between, thank you for sticking with us for the entire little round table we've had today. A big thank you to the two special guests that said yes to this lore moron. Thank you, Adan, and thank you, Sly, for coming in and helping us out with these topics today.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
And now, Groa, it's only a matter of time until we try this again sometime and, try our best to get Stout in.
Yeah. He's busy. He's a busy guy.
He's a busy boy no matter what we do, but oh man. So, if any of you are curious to see the fine work that each of these wonderful individuals do on their own time, on their own channels, I will have a full host of links both in the description and throughout this video. So please go over there, make sure to like their videos, subscribe to their channels, or follow them on Twitter, whatever it is. throw some Twitch subs Sly's way for good measure. But thank you all for joining us, and as always, stay safe, my friends.